Hey everybody, it's nutritionist Amy Berger from toitnutrition.com, bringing you the next video in doing keto without the crazy. I think I mentioned in my last video there's a relatively new tab on my website, toitnutrition.com, where you can find events where you can meet me in person. I'll have a list of upcoming live appearances, so come on out and meet me in person. I love to meet fans, followers, whatever you want to call yourselves. Also, don't forget about the page 4 fat loss diet, the most uncomplicated, simplest, most straightforward way to do keto. That's also on my website now. I think it says page 4 keto fat loss. And all right, let's get into things because what we're going to talk about today is intimately tied to page 4. So, where do I start? This is a viewer request topic. I had someone write to me. I do take requests, so if you have an idea for a topic you would like me to do, feel free to send me an email to toitnutrition@gmail.com. Do not leave it in the comments on the video because I can't keep up with the comments. I won't see it if you leave it in the comments, so email me directly if you have a topic you'd really like me to do. So the topic today is getting back on track on keto after you've been kind of off the rails for a little bit. And I'm going to limit this video to tips for getting back on track when you've been off of keto for an extended period of time and you're kind of basically back to your normal high carb, medium carb ways. And I'm not just talking about the occasional cheat meal, treat meal, whatever you want to call it. I'll do a separate video on that because it's a very different kind of strategy, I think, to stick with it. So if you've been off of keto for a long time, doesn't really matter why. I mean, I'm not going to get into the reasons why this happens to people. It happens. No one has to justify it. No one has to explain it. The important thing is, how do we get back? If we want to get back, maybe that's the first place to start, actually. And I have no notes, so this is going to be all over the map. Maybe the first place to start is, should you go back to keto? Maybe there's a reason you had such a hard time sticking with it. If you don't have a very pressing medical necessity for a strict diet, maybe you don't need keto. You know, I've always made a point in my videos and on my blog of not being a zealot, not being closed-minded. Keto is most definitely not the only way to be healthy. It's not the only way to lose body fat. It's not the only way to be fit. It's a great way. It's not the only way. So if you just have such a difficult time sticking with this, maybe it's not for you. I often encourage some people to maybe do something more like a paleo diet and maybe a low-ish carb paleo diet, but that's certainly more liberal with carbohydrate intake than strict keto. So paleo would allow you to have certain kinds of fruit, starchy vegetables, things like potatoes and sweet potatoes, and sweeter vegetables like carrots and beets and things like that. Depending on your definition of paleo, maybe you could have some raw dairy, maybe not, maybe even small amounts of beans and legumes. There's a lot of controversy over what strict paleo prohibits all of that, but going more of a paleo style diet might be something that you can stick with a little more easily, and maybe that's fine for you. Maybe that's all you need. You know, not everybody needs keto. Or if you don't want to do paleo, just do a low carb diet. Think of it more as low carb than as keto. And I think I've mentioned this in previous videos. You know, for myself, I'm not always strict keto. I am always low carb. And I have to say, I feel my best when I'm actually in ketosis, but I'm not always in ketosis. Sometimes I do have a little bit of hummus, or heaven help me, a slice of bread now and then, not keto bread, regular bread once in a while. Or, you know, even every now and then as a regular course of action, I have some carrots or I have some beets or butternut squash. So that might even help you. Don't think of it as keto, think of it as low carb, because low carb, it's really undefined. Low carb is a relative term. Is it lower carb than you would normally eat? You know, then if so, then it's low carb. Maybe you have, you know, I couldn't even think of an example. You could have like a keto oriented breakfast and lunch, and maybe at dinner you have some carrots or you have half a sweet potato. And that might get you all you need to get. You know, that might be enough to keep your blood sugar and insulin at a normal level, to keep inflammation at bay, to keep your brain firing on all cylinders. So that's something to ask yourself, you know, should you even be aiming for strict ketosis? You're not a bad person if you don't follow a strict ketogenic diet. I'll still love you. Hopefully your family will still love you. They might even love you more if they're not on the keto train. Oh, thank God she stopped that crazy keto diet. But assuming it is for you, if you do have a medical problem, if you have morbid obesity, or you have type 2 diabetes, or you have PCOS, or any other condition that is known to respond really, really well to a very low carb diet or a ketogenic diet, or you just want to for whatever reason, how are we going to make this work? I think there's a couple of different things, and one of the things you can do is, I mean, I'm doing this out of order. One thing to do is surround yourself with things that keep you motivated and encouraged. For example, keto cookbooks. Maybe you like to flip through them, look at the food porn. I have a bookshelf over there full of keto cookbooks that I almost never cook from. I like looking at the pictures. To me, a cookbook with no pictures is like a waste of my time. Don't bother me. My cooking at home for myself is very simple. It's ground beef in a pan with zucchini with some seasoning. It's a pork chop with some onions and eggplant. Like, it could not be simpler. I don't need a recipe. I don't need a cookbook. But I do enjoy looking at the cookbooks. So maybe you want to surround yourself in those. Surround yourself in keto social media, like before and after pictures online. Go to dietdoctor.com and look at the success stories. Go to marksdailyapple.com and look at the success stories. Not all of those people are keto, but many of them are. Look at pictures of food on Instagram or something. Like, you have literally at your fingertips with your phone now access to instant inspiration, motivation, encouragement. So that's just kind of keep you on the path. However, if you are somebody who responds negatively to that, if seeing someone else's before and after makes you feel like a failure, or makes you feel less than, makes you feel unworthy, makes you feel worse about yourself and your keto journey, don't look at that. You know, if looking at the food psychs you out, if you're looking at a girl who's this big around and she appears to be eating endless amounts of cheese and bacon and fat bombs, and she's putting butter in her coffee, and that's not working for you, don't look at that. So, you know, you have to know yourself and whether that's a wise thing for you. But moving on to something that's more important. I was in the military, as some of you know, I've mentioned it in previous podcasts. There's something called prepping the battlefield. If you're going to start keto again and you're going to stay with it, you've got to prep your battlefield. And on keto, your battlefield is your kitchen. It might also be your workplace or your car, but we'll get to that in a minute. You've got to prep your kitchen. Now, this is going to be more difficult if you live with other people in your household that don't follow a very low carb way of eating, because you're not going to be able to get rid of all the garbage. You might have to just deal with the fact that that's going to be there. You're going to have to look past it. You're going to have to ignore it. What you need to do is, to whatever extent you can, get rid of all the food that you do not want to eat. I'm not going to say should or shouldn't eat, or can or can't. There is no can or can't. It's whatever you decide to eat, whatever you choose to eat. Get rid of all the foods that you would not want to have around for fear of temptation, or because you know they're your trigger foods. We all have trigger foods. My list of trigger foods is getting longer and longer. Every couple of months I start seeing, oh, you know what? Can't control myself around that anymore. Guess I can't have it in the house. Oh, there's that other thing and that other thing too. Can't have those in the house either. That's a fact of life. We all have them. It's cool. So you've got to get rid of whatever you can, even if it means, for example, if you live alone and you bought yourself some stuff, non-keto stuff, even if that means throwing it out and wasting the money. Chances are whatever you bought was dirt cheap anyway, because it usually is. Those ultra processed refined carb crap is usually dirt cheap. So don't consider it wasted money, consider it an investment. It's a financial investment in your health, your well-being, whatever you want to call it, your quality of life. So it's really it's not that much wasted. And hopefully you don't have a ton of it anyway. You might only be getting rid of a few things. And then you have to restock. You have to prep your kitchen battlefield with the good stuff. Go to the store, get all the stuff you know you can have. Get your eggs, get your beef, your pork, your chicken, your seafood, your olive oil, some cheese, whatever, some Brussels sprouts and broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, whatever, mushrooms, whatever you like and makes this diet fun for you, get that. Let me see. Forgot what I was gonna say. Prepping the battlefield. Oh, yes. I mentioned the page 4 earlier. The page 4 diet from Dr. Westman is pretty much Atkins induction. I haven't looked at the Atkins book in a while, so it might be slightly different. I think nuts are allowed on Atkins induction, but I could be wrong about that. So there's maybe some slight variations, but I think one of the most effective and simplest ways of getting back to keto is literally getting back to keto. Jump in head first, whole body, don't mess around. This is not the time to try to figure out macros and percentages and calories and, you know, can I have this thing with 20 net carbs? This is not the time for net carbs. This is not the time for pussyfooting around and kidding yourself, right? I have a video called Stop Kidding Yourself on Keto. This is not the time to kid yourself. This is the time to get real, get serious, and stop playing around. And I'm not saying that harshly, like it's so much easier and simpler than you think. It's simpler because you don't have to futz around with macros and calculators and weighing your food and measuring your food and tracking everything. The beauty of a strict Atkins induction or a strict page 4 is that you don't have to do any of that. The only thing you have to do if you want is count total grams of carbohydrate, not net, don't remove the fiber, none of that. However, if you don't want to actually count, the other beauty of a strict Atkins induction or a strict page 4 is that you shouldn't have to count. If you eat the way it says to eat, you don't have to count because you will be under 20 grams of carbohydrate. You will be, by default, if you follow the rules, you're playing the game. Now, the reason I recommend getting back to a strict Atkins induction or a strict page 4 is because, and I talked about this in a recent video about willpower and discipline on keto. Like, do you need willpower to stick to keto? No, you don't need willpower. What you need is for your hunger to be very well controlled and regulated and for your cravings to be gone. What I said in that willpower video was, I don't need willpower to resist a craving when the craving isn't there, right? I don't need willpower and discipline to walk away from the box of donuts at the office when I don't want a donut, right? And the way to kind of shut that craving off is to stop feeding it, right? There's like an old proverb where a boy's dog has all these puppies and he says, "Grandpa, which puppies are going to grow? Which puppies are going to grow the most?" And he said, "The ones that you feed." So which path is going to grow? Which path is going to be the one that sticks? The one that you feed. If you keep feeding these cravings, guess what? The cravings keep coming back. You're actually making it worse. You know, so often we think, oh, you're craving whatever, blueberry pie. I just want that blueberry pie so badly. People will tell you, well, just eat the blueberry pie and get it out of your system. Newsflash, lesson here, that does not get it out of your system. It feeds the system. It feeds that craving. It reinforces, oh, every time I want a blueberry pie, I get to have my blueberry pie. So you have to just put the kibosh on that entirely. You have to nip that in the bud. And you might have to white knuckle it. There is a little bit of willpower and discipline involved in like the first 3 days. You might have to just hold on tight to your will and say, you know, I really want that, whatever, that strawberry scone. I really want that bowl of oatmeal. I don't know, whatever it is. And you have to not do it. And very quickly, and it's different for everybody, but very quickly, when you are that strict, 20 total grams of carbs or less per day, the cravings really do go away. And it's very hard to understand that unless you've experienced it. And if you've been dabbling with keto for a while, kind of half in, half out, do it a week on, a week off, a month on, a week off, then you might not have ever gotten to the point where that really happens. I do think it happens within a few days, but then you have to keep that momentum going. You can't start refeeding those cravings, because then you undo that shutting off of the craving. And it's also the hunger, like I said. When your insulin levels are low and the blood glucose is low, the hunger is just not there. And like I said in that video, it's not that you never get hungry, but when you get hungry, it's a gentle, gradual onsetting of like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. I could go for some food, but if I had to wait another hour or even 2 hours, I'd be okay. I wouldn't be ravenous. I wouldn't be angry. I wouldn't be irritable. I wouldn't be shaky. I wouldn't be a bitch. I would just be hungry. So it's less complicated than you think it is, and that's really the answer. There's no magic to it. There's no trick to it. The answer to how to get back on is get back on, and get back on hard. Wink, wink, no jokes, but like, get the carbs out of your diet immediately. Stock your kitchen with good stuff. If you work in an office where you have a desk drawer full of cookies and candy, gone. Eliminate, throw it out. It's not doing you any good. It's just pennies gone. It's an investment in your health. And put some cans of tuna, canned salmon, get a jar of coconut oil, pork rinds, beef jerky with no sugar, non-perishable stuff that's keto friendly that you can keep there. And getting back to kind of making this easier, with the exception of keeping the total carbs extremely low, when people are brand new to keto, or if they're struggling, or if they are somebody who's just having a hard time keeping with it consistently over the long term, in order to readjust, to reacclimate, like when I said jump in with the whole body, the only thing I would want somebody to concern themselves with is the total carbs. Keep the total carbs very, very low. In the first initial stage, when you're coming back to keto with an eye toward really doing it, I don't want you to worry about calories, about fat, about protein. Just eat. Just eat. Like, the transition period, those first couple of days and weeks, is not the time to worry about the fat loss, right? Or even the blood sugar, I would say. Just get adjusted, just get acclimated, get accustomed to eating this way, get accustomed to this being your life, and then once the hunger is regulated and controlled, once the cravings are gone, then you can start saying, do I really need to put this butter in my coffee, or can I drink it plain without it? Do I really need to drown these vegetables in oil or cheese? That's the time to start messing around with how much fat am I eating on my plate versus how much is going to come from my own stored body fat, if fat loss is even a goal. The person writing to me who requested this topic, I don't even know if she wanted to lose weight. She just said, I'm having a hard time staying with keto consistently. What are your tips for like doing this? And maybe fat loss is not even part of the story for you. Maybe you have epilepsy, maybe you get migraines, maybe you have high blood pressure. So it's not even about weight loss, but whatever your issue is, during the adjustment period, just let your body get adjusted. Don't put pressure on yourself to make this anything else but that, right? You don't have to lose weight. The health doesn't have to improve in the first 2 weeks. In the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, all you have to do is not eat more than 20 grams of carbs a day. It takes a lot of the guilt away, a lot of the fear, a lot of the uncertainty, because the whole reason I started this YouTube channel is because I saw a need for it. Keto has become so complicated, and it has so many different moving parts now. Macros, fat bombs, bulletproof coffee, what about the omega-6, what about this oil? It's not free range, it's not organic, what about that? What about cooking in plastic? Oh my God, people. When I was new to this, 1999, 2000, this was not a thing. None of this was a thing. The thing was the Atkins diet. It was a very low carb diet and you didn't really have to do anything else. And I'm not saying it's that easy or that straightforward for everyone, but that's the starting point. That's where you start. Then you tinker and tweak and change from there. But I think doing a strict Atkins induction or a strict page 4 just takes all of this unnecessary complication and all of the unnecessary details out of the picture. Because I think for a lot of people, possibly this woman who wrote to me, I don't know, but for a lot of people, that's what gets in the way sometimes. You get in your own way. Instead of just saying, you know what, this is a low carb diet, and by definition, all I really have to do is keep my carbohydrate intake low. Instead of just sort of focusing on that, we call it paralysis by analysis. Well, what about, is that pork too high in omega-6 because it wasn't, it eats grain in the feedlot? And is that whatever, this salad dressing is 0 carb, but it has soybean oil. What do I do about that? And how much fat should I eat? How many calories? Because my body is a calculator. My human body, with all its complex hormonal feedback loops, is no more complicated than a dime store calculator. No. That's why I refuse to give my clients calorie numbers to aim for. So I don't really know what else to say. I just kicked my table. That's why the video shook. Sorry. I don't know what else to say. I just wouldn't worry. Keep it as simple as possible, and that's why strict Atkins induction is so great for this purpose, and it's why strict page 4 is so great. And you don't have to buy page 4. I know I keep mentioning it because it works. I am an affiliate. I get a couple of cents off of every purchase of it. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. Go to the library, get the Atkins book for free, or go to a used bookstore. I almost always see some version of the Atkins diet book at a used bookstore. You can get it for like $1, 75 cents maybe. So that's really all there is to it. The way to do it is to do it. Get yourself excited about the food you can have, right? I don't know what you like, so depending on what you like, okay, I can't have X, Y, and Z carby, sugary things that I love, but I can have pepperoni and cheese and mushrooms and avocados and coconut, and maybe, depending, page 4 doesn't allow nuts. I don't remember if Atkins induction, but maybe some walnuts, some pecans, some macadamias, almonds. I can have a Western omelet with ham and onion and green pepper. I can have, a juicy steak. I can have, again, like those roasted Brussels sprouts where it like gets a little charred. Oh, it's so delicious. I can have roasted broccoli or steamed. I can make cauliflower hummus. I can have, any number of things. Fajitas. I can go to my favorite Mexican restaurant and get my fajitas. I just can't eat the wraps, the tortillas. It's not rocket science. And so I think that's the way to do it. Focus on the food, focus on the simplest, most straightforward, uncomplicated way to do it, and forget about all the details for at least a few weeks. No guilt, no shame, no overthinking, no overcomplicating. Keep the carbs really low, period, and move on with your day. Don't make the ketogenic diet your whole life. And I want to go back to that social media focus again, because everybody is wired so differently. Seeing pictures of food or pictures of people's before and after or whatever can be very motivating and very encouraging for people, but for other people it's the opposite. It's discouraging, or it's demotivating. So know how you're wired and do what's best for you. You could even just lurk, be like a fly on the wall. There's so many good keto forums out there that you could just see what other people are talking about. Personally, without knowing how you're wired, I don't know how people are wired. Most of the people who come to me for help as clients are totally overwhelmed. They're already living on Facebook, living on Reddit, living on Twitter, living on the blogosphere, living on YouTube, watching podcasts all day long. They never take the earbuds out of their ears. They are surrounded by keto. And for those people, and maybe for you, I recommend taking an information vacation. If you search on go to the page that just has all the videos, there's one that says take an information vacation. It might be best for you to walk away from the keto noise entirely and just keep it to the food. Just keep it to your food. Don't worry about fasting. Don't worry about autophagy. Don't worry about whatever. Like, that's another point I should bring up. The fasting, don't fast. Don't worry about the time. Don't worry about the clock. Eat when you're hungry. Make sure it's a keto-friendly food, a food that will keep you under 20 total grams of carbs a day. Don't worry about your eating window or this or that. Does this break a fast? Does that break a fast? It don't matter, because the only thing you're going to worry about is your total carbohydrate intake, not the timing, not the number of meals. You can worry about that later. When you are learning to play a musical instrument, and I can say this because I play the clarinet and saxophone, I might even video myself doing it someday just for fun if you all want to see that. When you are brand new to learning a musical instrument, you don't think about what you're going to wear to your recital at Carnegie Hall when you're 46 years old and you're a professional playing with the Philharmonic. You think about, how do I play that note G? What is that? Is that 3 fingers? Is it 2 fingers? Is it 1 finger? So with the ketogenic diet, when you are either brand new or you can consider yourself brand new, pretend like this is a clean slate. Whatever happened in the past is the past. Couldn't stick to keto in the past? No problem. That's the past. That's the past. We're on a new path now. We're moving forward. We're moving away from the past. We're moving forward. So I totally lost my train of thought, but clean slate, you just worry about the food. Just worry about maintaining a very, very low carb intake. You don't have to worry about the Carnegie Hall recital. You don't have to worry about fasting and autophagy and omega-6 and blah, 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 blah. So I guess that's it. I don't know if that's helpful or not. If anything, I hope it's a reality check upside the head like many of us need often, myself included. Believe me, like I said, I will do another video someday on cheat meals, because I do think that is a different animal. It's a different kind of approach, dealing with cheat meals, or whether or not cheat meals are good, bad, and different. That's separate from somebody having trouble long-term just doing this, making this their lifestyle, making it the way they eat rather than the short-term diet that they abandon anytime it's convenient. So, I guess that's it for now. As always, you know, you can support me on Patreon, patreon.com/2itnutrition. You can support me for as little as $2 a month. Let's see, yeah, $2 a month. Or if you don't like PayPal, I know, don't like Patreon, I know a lot of people are not big Patreon fans, you can still support my work by sending a one-time or recurring contribution by PayPal. PayPal.com. You can send it to my email address, 2itnutrition@gmail.com. No contribution is too small or too big. All amounts are very, very much appreciated and welcome. I'm self-employed. I have no health insurance. It's not easy being self-employed. There's no benefits. There's no nothing. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.